Welcome everyone to lesson 2 of Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, subtitle Celebrating Srila Prabhupada's Preeminent Position in ISKCON as well as every Prabhupada follower's foundational relationship with him. Lesson 1 was the introduction. At the end of the introduction, I did give some homework. Unfortunately, I didn't connect with Ramananda yesterday or the day before to remind everybody to please do that homework, because it's actually central to the seminar, that we do note down, as I requested, in 25 words or less. In other words, keep it brief. Our relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Just put it down very briefly in a nutshell, because hopefully by the end of this seminar, we'll have experienced things that will have influenced that relationship for the better, I hope. So if you haven't done it, please do that. It's for your own benefit. And what I'd like to do, if anybody has done that homework, I would like to invite anyone to read their statement if they'd like to share it. Maybe it's too confidential, maybe it's too private, that's fine. But if anyone would like to, if anyone has done the homework of writing down their, in a nutshell, relationship with Srila Prabhupada and would like to share it, now's the time. So, Ramananda, that's what I'd like to do first.
Okay, I muted everybody in pre-conferencing. Now we have about 20 devotees. Anyone would like to start? Okay, I guess I could jump in. My relationship with Srila Prabhupada, as far as I see it at this point, is that I understand I have great fortune to come in contact with my spiritual master, and I have the opportunity to take shelter of his simple instructions, and when I do, I will get the full benefit from them.
Aye. Very nice. Anyone else? Okay. Well, if you haven't done it, please do it for your benefit. And if you have done it and it's just too confidential, that's fine too. It's mainly something for your own reflection before and after. Excuse me. Okay, so let's press on with lesson 2, Guru Review. So there is the classic shot of Prabhupada's preaching by the American elm tree in Tompkins Square Park. And just last year, Mayor Bloomberg, New York City, he made a new plaque. I happened to visit the park last year. It was the first place I took the seminar was to the Bhakti Center in New York City. And lo and behold, when I went down to the park and went to the tree, I saw on the fence a new sign. And the new sign announces that this is the spot where the Hare Krishna movement began, as we know it, as ISKCON. And it mentions Srila Prabhupada as the founder, and this is the tree where he preached. And then it goes on to glorify the tree. It's an American elm tree. And it's very nice. It's very sweet and noteworthy. If anybody ever goes to New York City, you must go to that tree, hug the tree, pay obeisances to the tree, and you must visit the donut factory, which is a real happening prasadam place. And of course, if you do visit 26 Second Avenue, if it's still in the mode it's in when I was there, it's in a transition mode. Eventually the plan is to make it a museum. When devotees acquired the property, or they started renting it again, back in the 90s, it was a center and there were classes. But when the Bhakti Center opened behind it on 25 First Avenue, it kind of took the thunder away from 26 as far as a preaching spot. And the Bhakti Center is such a happening place that it gradually just petered out at 26, but it will revive as a kind of a museum when the devotees get it together to do that. They need a lot of support to do that. Anyway, there's the tree. There's Srila Prabhupada in his classic preaching mode by the tree with that eclectic band of people, immigrants and counterculture people, and devotees are not shaved up yet, but they're at his feet. People like Achyutananda, Brahmananda. I guess you can see Kirtanananda there. He's got short hair. So that's where it all began. So Guru Review. So I'd like you to remember the title of the seminar and the subtitle. I just repeated it. And I'd like to open up and ask anyone why you think a Guru Review might be an appropriate lesson here. Why am I doing this? Guru Review. The title is Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, celebrating Srila Prabhupada's preeminent position in ISKCON as well as every Prabhupada follower's foundational relationship with him. Why might be appropriate, before we launch into that, to talk about a Guru Review? Anyone?
Well, I can jump in again unless somebody else is there would like to say.
I keep hearing a parakeet. Then maybe that's Narahari's parrot.
Yeah, I was
hard to get in to say something because I had to unmute and I couldn't figure out how to do it, but I just unmuted. Prabhu, could you define what you mean by Guru Review? If you want us to comment on Guru Review, I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Okay, fair question. Maybe I have to amend the title. Just a brief review of Guru Tattva. Basically, what is a guru? Why do we need a guru? How is the guru one? How is the guru different? And that's maybe what I need to say before I ask the question. So thank you for that tweak. That's what we're going to be doing. What is a guru? Why do we need a guru? How is the guru one? How is the guru different? What are the relationships between the different kinds of gurus? So why might that be an appropriate lesson before we launch into Founder Acharya? What's that all about? Anyone?
Gosh, I guess the first thought that will come to the top of my mind is, what is it? If we can appreciate the need of a guru, then it all takes such. We're dead without a guru. We're lost. We're blind. We're unborn. We're on our way to hell, especially in the age of Kali.
That's true, Nara.
We're nothing without a guru.
Nara, listen to the question was why am I asking this question now? Why am I doing this? Because we're going to discuss that. What is a guru? You're jumping ahead now, but before we do that, why the question? Guru Review, why the lesson? Guru Review. I better just say it because maybe it's not resonating unless somebody wants to.
But we're all on the same page, so we're all in agreement about what we're going to study.
Okay, sure. We know what we're going to do. That's always a good. It's always good to know what you're going to do, what you're doing, and then what you did. Right. Right. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just say something here. When Srila Prabhupada was walking among us, he was everything. He was Shiksha, Diksha, founder Acharya. He was mother, father, grandfather, grandmother. So we didn't know much, really, about Guru Tattva and all its ramifications and the different aspects of it. So before we even talk about Prabhupada's position as founder Acharya, which is a subset of the Guru principle, however glorious it is, we need to talk about just the principle of Guru. And ultimately how all the different kinds of gurus relate. And then we'll go into Founder Acharya in the next lesson, and that's the transition. Okay, without further ado, let's just launch into the different aspects of Guru Tattva. Is everybody muted, by the way? I'm hearing a little background there. Okay.
No,
okay.
You want me to? I can go ahead and mute everybody again. Because it'll be a while before the interaction.
Let's see. No, not that much. I'm pretty sensitive to background noise, but maybe it's a pain in the neck to keep muting and unmuting. What do you want to do?
It's not. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody on free conferencing. That way you won't hear any. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, let me scroll. What is a guru? There's Srila Prabhupada explaining that very thing, actually specifically what he's explaining at New Vrindavan during the Bhagavad Dharma discourse on September 2, Saturday, 1972, when the devotees had invited journalists, scholars, and politicians, believe it or not, to meet the person who is responsible for this Hare Krishna. 1972, ISKCON was only 6 years old, and it was just exploding now, all over America and all over the world. So the devotees decided it would be a good opportunity for the American media and scholars and politicians to meet the Hare Krishna Guru. So here is Srila Prabhupada. This is right smack in the middle of the Bhagavad Dharma discourse. Prabhupada named it that, Bhagavad Dharma discourse, specifically what this is all about. Very scientific name. Bhagavad Dharma, our eternal relationship and occupation in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is itself a mouthful, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyway, during the discourse, smack in the middle is Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja. So Janmashtami has just happened, and here's Vyasa Puja Day, and there is Srila Prabhupada sitting on the seat. And you can even see and hear all of this on YouTube. If you go to Google and type in the meaning of Vyasa Puja, New Vrindavan, 1972, you will hear Srila Prabhupada deliver a beautiful speech all about this. What does Vyasa Puja mean? So I chose this picture because he's specifically talking about the meaning of Vyasa Puja and what is a guru. Okay, so let's scroll. Whoop, I just gave it away. Whoop. All right. Anyway, if you saw that or if you didn't see it, I'd like someone to say, when you hear the word guru, or you read it, hear it on the radio, or you hear it, you read it in the newspaper, what do people popularly mean by guru? You can unmute and tell me. What are they talking about when they say guru these days? How is it passed into the language?
Sometimes it's considered to be an expert.
Expert, exactly. I just heard it. I have my let me just give you. There it is. Popularly, a person who has knowledge or expertise. Expert. Example, a sports guru. Yes, I have my sports guru. I have my financial guru. I have my political guru. It just happened to me the other day. I just arrived in Gainesville recently. I moved from Honolulu to Gainesville, Florida, to be at the Krishna House, where there's a lot of teaching happening. And I shipped 11 boxes of books from Honolulu to Gainesville because they have a nice library for the students here. And one of the boxes didn't make it. It got damaged. So I was filling out a claim, and with the postal clerk, and the postal clerk got a little stumped during the whole process. So she had to call her, as she put it, her postal service guru. Oh, my postal service guru, Anne, she will help me with this, I know. So that was a new kind of, yet another usage of, expert. So yeah, this is how people commonly talk about guru. Now, what's another kind of guru? I'm going to give you a hint. Naturally, gurus in nature. Think the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Does anybody remember from the Bhagavatam 11th canto different kinds of gurus?
24 gurus. 24.
Okay, Prabhu, you get to read this. What is your name, Prabhu?
Rishabdev Das.
Okay. Please, Rishabdev Prabhu, please read that.
I don't have a computer in front of me.
Okay. Well, I'll just read it. A teacher in nature. Example, a tree teaches tolerance. Okay, so I'm I'm going to read those 24 gurus. The earth, air, sky, water, fire, moon, sun, pigeon and python, the sea, moth, honeybee, elephant, and honey thief, the deer, the fish, the prostitute, Pingala, the Kurara bird and the child, and the young girl, arrow maker, serpent, spider, and wasp. My dear king, says the Brahman Avadut to Yadu Maharaj, my dear king, by studying their activities, I have learned the science of the self. So this is a good echo of Krishna teaching us how we can see him through his energies in the Bhagavad Gita. The light of the sun and the moon, the taste of water, etc., both in the 7th chapter and in the 10th chapter of the Gita. So by studying Krishna's energies in nature, we learn a lot. And the Avadut has gone so far as to say, by studying their activities, I have learned the science of the self. He doesn't say he's Bhagavan realized, but he's definitely he's learned a lot about himself. Okay, so popularly, an expert, naturally, somebody in nature, like when we say the third Shikshastik, Torori api sahishnuna, or Torori va sahishnuna, more tolerant than a tree. We have to learn. We have to take that to heart. Also, literally, can someone say literally what the word guru means? Literally.
Heavy?
Literally. What does the Sanskrit word guru literally mean? Anyone?
The source.
Excuse me?
The source.
The force. I never heard that one.
Source.
That's
the source.
Oh, the source. Oh, okay. I thought it was a little Star Wars echo. May the force be with you. Okay, may the source be with you. Never heard that one either, but it's linked to the source. A guru naturally is linked to the source, and because he's linked to the source, he is naturally, fill in the blank. Heavy. Okay, let me just read what I have here. Literally, a person who is heavy with knowledge. Whoop, there's the last one. Heavy with knowledge, right. He's not heavy by kilograms, although some gurus just incidentally are. But he's heavy with knowledge. There's also a metaphorical definition of guru. You find sometimes somebody who drives away the darkness of ignorance. That's not literally what the Sanskrit is saying, but that's been poetically interpreted by some acharyas. Okay, and then perfectly, how did Srila Prabhupada present from Shastra the meaning of guru? Anybody remember a Shastric definition of guru?
And one who has seen the truth, like, Tadvi Gyanatam Saguru Vabhigachet. And then the other part of it, he knows Brahma spirit.
Yes. Seeing the truth, that was an echo of Gita 434, and then you jump to Mundaka Upanishad. So let's read that. Okay. So perfectly, completely, the consummate definition of guru from Shastra. Here's Prabhupada speaking in Bombay. He says, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam, a person who has properly received Vedic knowledge. Shrotriyam, he's heard, and is, quote, fixed up in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as we say on the street these days, he walks the talk. He's heard the talk perfectly, and he walks it. So that's a guru. Shrotriyam, he's heard, Brahmanishtam, and he's fixed. He's perfectly fixed. Okay, so that's a guru. Any questions about that slide, that point about what a guru is? We've gone from street level to Shastra. All right, next slide. Why do we need a guru? What's going on here? Krishna is answering Arjuna's questions. So many questions. Arjuna is a very learned person, but because all his arguments, as we know from the first chapter of the Gita, and one verse in the 2nd chapter too, were all self-centered arguments, he was confused. And that was the final reason why he didn't want to fight. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. That's the final reason Arjuna gave of why. It was a very existential kind of reason. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Everything's absurd. Okay, so why do we need a guru? Anybody say from Shastra? Can you think of a... We talked about what is a guru, but why do we need a guru? Anything? Okay, go ahead. Narahari Prabhu has hit the nail on the head. This is the shloka that goes with this famous painting, Krishna Arjuna. Can you unpack? You going to say that in plain English, Narahari Prabhu?
I'm bewildered. My mind. I'm confused about my duty. I've lost all composure due to weakness. I am your disciple and soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me.
Very good. Very good. Has anyone ever had an Arjuna moment before they came to Krishna consciousness and weren't satisfied by the answer they received? The Arjuna moment, in other words, by Arjuna moment, I mean, what's it all about? This is a very human question. In the human form of life, where it naturally arises, but then we don't really get satisfying answers. Anyone briefly give me a punchline answer they received that they knew there was more than that? Don't tell me a whole story now, because we haven't got time for that, but just the punchline. What are some punchline, unsatisfying answers to the question, what is life? What do I do? Anyone?
No, I can just say that I asked those questions.
Okay.
Oops.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if you heard me. I was just going to say that, I've asked the questions, but I never got back any answers. Nobody knew, at least that I came in contact with.
Sometimes we get famously bad answers. I was hoping for one, because I shared one last year that I got from my father. I was hoping that somebody would trump me, but maybe not.
Why am I suffering?
Mm-hmm. And what answer did you get?
Well, Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. But the question is, before you came to Krishna consciousness, and finally you heard something that made sense, did you ever ask this question? What is life, and what do I do? And receive an answer. Some of us have received some pretty bizarre answers to these questions. Anyway, without belaboring the point, because there isn't time, I'll just, anybody? Okay. I'll just share the punchline answer. I don't know if anybody can trump my father, but I asked this when I was 17 in an elevator. Dad, this is it? This is life? And he looked at me with a smile on his face, not the same kind of smile Krishna smiled when Arjuna asked, or when he surrendered and became his disciple, Prahasannyiva Bharata. But my father gave a smile like, well, he's finally figured it out. Life is absurd. And my father was a real existentialist. So then he said, yep, this is it. So then I said, well, what do I do? It was a real Arjuna question. So my father mustered up his courage, to break the news to me, and this is what he said. What do? Well, now you find something to do with yourself for the next 50 years to keep from going crazy. Wow, what an answer. Holy smoke. I knew there had to be a better answer than that, but he was dead serious. And it also occurred to me that this is what he must have done at some point. So, okay, let's go. And Narahari Prabhu, you win the prize. Unmute yourself, and you please, if you can see this, whoop, read an excerpt from Prabhupada's purport to that verse.
Okay. Hang on, let me sit down here at the desk. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life.
Yes. Without a bona fide spiritual master, as Prabhupada writes, the bound cannot help the bound. But Kali Yuga is such an unfortunate age that even when we ask these questions, we get so many pseudo answers. And therefore, in his purport to Gita, 4:10, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. And in that purport, Prabhupada, he really focuses on those three reasons why we don't, we stay bound. We're attached, attached to this world and it's the sense gratification it offers, however paltry it may be. We're afraid. We're afraid to ask the questions, afraid of the answers, and afraid to go beyond this world. And we become angry, as Prabhupada finally puts it, over all sorts of speculation about what the truth is. They're all contradictory, all the answers. And out of frustration, we throw up our hands and we conclude that there is no answer. And then we just try to forget and merge into some kind of void, either through intoxication or impersonal speculation like that. So, we really need a real spiritual master to ask those questions that we're wired to ask in the human form. Who are we? Why are we here? Why is the sky blue, Daddy? Why are there stars in the sky? Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So, how is the Guru one? And there is, in the picture, our Adi Guru, our original Guru. Of course, he's the origin of all. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamahang Bhajami. Never alone, Krishna is. The truth is relational. The truth is never alone. He's playing his flute, and even the gopis are envious of that flute because they're always tasting the nectar of Krishna's lotus lips. So he's the Adi Guru. He's the Adi everything. He's the Summum Bodham, the ultimate source of all energies. And the question below his lotus feet is, how is the Guru one? So would someone like to venture an answer based on Guru Sadhu Shastra? How is the Guru one? If Krishna is the Adi Guru, then how is the Guru, who is the transparent via medium, one? What is that all about? Anyone?
Because the words of the spiritual master is the same as Krishna's words.
Mm-hmm.
His instructions are what connects us to Krishna. So therefore, because his instructions are the same as Krishna's instructions, therefore the Guru is one.
Yes, very good. Ramananda, you win the prize. Please read the excerpt from Science of Self-Realization.
Okay. The Guru is one because he comes in disciplic succession. What Vyasadeva and Krishna taught 5,000 years ago is also being taught now. There is no difference between the two instructions. Although hundreds of thousands of acharyas have come and gone, the message is one: science of self-realization under choosing a spiritual master.
Right. Exactly. Here's some other ways the Guru is one. The Guru is always instructing. That's how the Guru is one. Whatever kind of Guru the Guru is, the Guru is always instructing. That's the essence of being a guru. Even if the guru isn't saying a word, by his example or her example, he or she is instructing. And then here's to support that. Here's an excerpt from Chaitanya Chaitamrita Adi Lila 144. Quote, Prabhupada writes, Gurun, this is the very first chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. You want to know about Guru Tattva, just read that very first chapter. The spiritual masters, plural. Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktan. That's the very first thing Kaviraj Goswami says. He's offering obeisances to his spiritual masters. But here's how all those masters are one. Quote, Prabhupada writes in his purport to Adi Lila 144, Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Now here's another interesting reference. In the same, this is Gita 434, famous verse, Tadvidhi Pranipatena, etc. Well, I'll just say it because the words are integral to the answer. Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshana. So Krishna, he refers to the Guru both in the singular and the plural in this verse. He says, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. Then he says, the self-realized souls, plural, upadekshanti, that's plural, can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. And here's another evidence that the essence of Guru is in the imparting knowledge. Because in the word for word to that verse, upadekshanti, in the translation, Prabhupada says, the self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. He spins it a different way in the word for word. Upadekshanti, which he says they will impart knowledge in the translation. In the word for word, upadekshanti, he says they will initiate. Upadekshanti, they will initiate te you jnanam, into knowledge. So the essence of being a guru, whether you're diksha or shiksha, is to impart knowledge. It's the imparting, the conveyance, the transference of knowledge. So that's how the guru is one. He's imparting the same knowledge that Krishna imparts. And when Prabhupada sat on that Vyasasana in New Vrindavan, 1972, September 2nd Saturday, when he was telling all those people who were looking at him, sitting on that big red throne, and he knew what was in their minds. Why is this guy sitting on this big seat? Because it is America, and it's all about egalitarian, and why is this guy sitting on a big seat? Prabhupada, for them to get the message, he just started using that good all-American metaphor of or analogy of the postman. Everybody loves the postman, right? He's a guy that delivers the mail, and he tolerates all kinds of weather conditions and dogs and whatever. So Prabhupada says he's a post-peon. I remember the word, post-peon. He's just he's very humbly reaching down. Post-peon. He's comparing himself to a post-peon. And then he went further. He said, he's a dog. So I'm the dog of God. Spiritual master is like the dog. And he said, if you see a big man walking his dog, if you just give that big man's dog, Prabhupada said, a 2-cent lozenge, very easily the big man is pleased. So he said, I'm the dog of God. It's very hard to please God, but it's very easy to please me. And then right on cue, some devotee said, how can we please you, Srila Prabhupada? Shan Hare Krishna. So that was a very wonderful and dramatic moment. So that's how the Guru is one. He's carrying God's message. He's always instructing. And how can we become qualified to be that kind of person? Well, way back in 1968, beautiful letter to a young girl who's living in the Bahamas, who had met devotees, and she wrote Prabhupada a letter because she was so excited reading his books. and her name is Andrea Temple, believe it or not. And, if we just become Prabhupada, of course, he says Krishna says at the Gita 4:3, we just have to become his devotee and his friend, like Arjuna. That's why Krishna said he was speaking this to Arjuna after the Parampara verses. He says, because you're my devotee, you're my friend, I'm speaking this to you. Therefore, you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So, in this letter to Andrea Temple, just a young girl, read something of Prabhupada's books. Well, 68, chances are she hasn't read, maybe she's read the Macmillan Abridged Gita, maybe. That's when it came out. Anyway, here's a little excerpt from Prabhupada to Andrea that we can all take to heart. And this is very early on, when it was just really a little, little family with Swamiji. But she's in the Bahamas. Prabhupada answers her from L.A., and he says, she asked a question about passing this on to others. And Prabhupada, very excited, he writes, quote, yes, whoever you tell the chant to, it is effective. You have heard it from me and my disciples. Similarly, I have heard it from my Guru Maharaj, and so on and on. Because you have heard it from a pure devotee of the Lord, therefore it is transmitted from you to another. Just as an aerial message is transmitted from one place to another. Similarly, this Guru Parampara system is working. My disciples are my agents, my representatives. So by hearing it from them, you are receiving it from me. And because you are a sincere soul, those who are hearing the mantra from you are receiving it in disciplic succession from Lord Chaitanya and from Lord Krishna. Letter to Andrea Temple, Los Angeles, 6 March 1968. A beautiful example of Prabhupada's empowering mood. I'm hearing background there. Unmute.
I have a question.
Okay. I didn't take questions yet, but hold your fire. We're going to do one more thing before we take questions. Oh, no, that was the last thing. Okay, you're right on cue. Who are you, Prabhu? Please let me know your name.
This is Madhukanta Das.
Madhukanta Prabhu, Jai. Hare Krishna.
Haribol,
Dandavad.
In the 72 edition of Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, as it is, he uses the singular rather than the plural about who's seen the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Mm-hmm. And when you quoted it, you said it was in the plural.
Yes, that is in the edition corrected to Prabhupada's actual either original dictation or manuscript. You can, if you go to bbtedit.com, you can look at the, how it was first published, how it was gotten wrong, and you can look at, Prabhupada's original thing, and you can see how they did it wrong in the first edition, and you can see how it was restored to Prabhupada in the second. And that's a whole other seminar, isn't it? All those book changes / restorations. So, yeah, Krishna actually if you go right to the Sanskrit, Krishna uses the singular and the plural. He does both. Okay, so let's go to how is the Guru different? Next slide. All right. There is our hero, Lord Krishna. Bir Krishna means hero Krishna. It's like we have our Bir Krishna Maharaj. So Bir Krishna or Vira Krishna. Bir is kind of Bengali. So he's playing his flute, and now that flute sound is going into Chatramukhi Brahma, the Adi Guru of our Sampradaya, into his ear holes. And we're going to we've looked at how the Guru is one, because he carries the same message as our Adi Guru, Krishna. And now we're going to look at how the Guru is different. And this is where it gets very interesting, leading up to our founder Acharya. Okay. So, he's different, first of all, by role. and I'll read this excerpt. Quote, the initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. Yes. When we're serving as an initiator, we'll come to this a little later, it's like a father or a mother, since Srila Prabhupada said as early as 1968 that he wanted all his boys and girls to be spiritual masters, so it's not limited to the traditional Indian or even Vedic system, but Prabhupada is our founder Acharya for the modern age. He's inviting everyone. Kiba vipra kiba nyasi shudra kene noi, ye Krishna tattvaveta se guru hoy. Doesn't matter what one is, whether he's learned, whether he's shudra, blah, 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 etc. If he knows the art and science of serving Krishna, Kaviraj Goswami says he's a spiritual master. You can serve as a spiritual master. So there's different roles. So one could be a father and a mother, but also we'll see later how there's aunties and uncles too. Just different dealings. But they're equal and identical manifestations of Krishna. Okay, so that's how a spiritual master can differ, by role, by qualification. Here's an interesting letter to Janardhan, which will echo with another quote from the books. Let me get this quote. Yeah, okay. So back in 68, Janardhan wrote a question about liberated, non-liberated gurus. Is it possible? Of course, Prabhupada himself, although he's on the topmost level of devotional service, Uttamadhikari, Mahabhagavat, etc., he would sometimes say things like, I may not be perfect, but because I'm following the perfect, therefore I am perfect. So Prabhupada writes to Janardhan, quote, a person who is liberated Acharya and Guru cannot commit any mistake, but there are persons who are less qualified or not liberated, but still can act as Guru and Acharya by strictly following the disciplic succession. Also in Nectar of Instruction, you can serve as a spiritual master even from the different adhikaris, Uttama, Madhyam, and Kanishta, different levels. And here's another reference for different kinds, levels of gurus from Prabhupada's written word, Adi Lila 147 purport. Prabhupada writes, quote, there are two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is the liberated person fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. Thus, the instructions in the science of devotion are differentiated in terms of the objective and subjective ways of understanding. Now, if you look at other references by objective, Prabhupada's he's saying general. It means general. General way of understanding, a guru, and subjective, particular. Long story short, there are different levels of gurus, and even if one is not, technically a liberated soul, as Prabhupada writes to Janardhan in this letter, if he strictly follows, he can act in the capacity of a spiritual master. So that's a way, another way a gurus differ. They differ by qualification, and they differ by commitment. I just got a little snippet there, which I'll unpack a little for you. We've heard these terms before. Vartma Pradarshika, one who shows the path. You could say an introducer. Shiksha, an instructor. Diksha, an initiator. So let me read a little bit about each one here from the CC. I'll actually read from those references that I only had room to give on the slide, just the numbers. Prabhupada writes, quote, the spiritual master who first gives information about spiritual life is called the Vartma Pradarshika Guru. That's CC Madhya 8128 purport. We can think of examples like Suniti, right? Dhruva, as a little boy, went to her and said, Mama, I've been insulted, and what to do? Your co-wife said this, and I'm a Kshatriya, I can't take it. And so Suniti humbly said, well, it's true, I'm not your father's favorite queen, and I can't help you, but I know who can help you. God can help you. Only God can really help us, and I know the sages say you can find him in the forest. That's where the sages go to look for God. So that's maybe what you have to do, because I'm your mother, but I can, I can't help you ultimately. I can so she's the introducer there. But if very interesting how that Leela pans out at the end, of course, when Dhruva goes back to Godhead, because she was the introducer and she'd given a perfect instruction. And Dhruva didn't want to go without taking her, and then he expressed that to the Vishnu Dutas, and then the Vishnu Dutas, said, "Okay, look behind you. There she is." Okay, so the Varma Pradarshika shows the path, shows the way, or sometimes called Pata Pradarshika. And that's one kind of guru, and at a certain level of commitment, right? An introducer. We do it all the time. Oh yeah, you can. Like when I was doing books out on Kalakaua Avenue in Honolulu, I was always giving out mantra cards and inviting people to the temple. And so I was acting as a kind of introducer out there. Shiksha Guru. Here's another level now. Quote: the spiritual master who gives instructions for elevation is called the Shiksha Guru. So when you start a relationship, an instructor-instructed relationship, then the commitment gets a little more, serious. It gets a little more consequential, and we have to be careful how we instruct. Not only how we receive instructions, but how we instruct. And then the Diksha Guru. Quote: the spiritual master who initiates according to the regulations of the Shastras is called the Diksha Guru. Ramananda Prabhu, am I still connected, everybody? All of a sudden,
yeah,
the sound...
connected.
Okay.
No, that's just people coming in and out. It'll make those kind of sounds.
Yeah, I heard that, but then it got too quiet for me, so I thought maybe I lost everybody. Okay, I'll just keep going. I'll read that again. This is another level of commitment. The Diksha Guru. Quote: the spiritual master who initiates according to the regulations of the Shastras is called the Diksha Guru. And then further down in the same purport, Prabhupada writes, generally a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. Of course, that is contrary to what we've been experiencing in ISKCON's history, and that's an issue which we'll take up more later in the seminar. But again, that line from Prabhupada, generally a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. That's the traditional model that Prabhupada's presenting there. And finally, Prabhupada writes about the Diksha Guru, quote, he is like a parent. This is again from Adi Leela. Now we're going to 146 purport. Prabhupada brings in the parental analogy. He is like a parent. Without the attentive service of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the plane of transcendental service. A bona fide spiritual master accepts charge of disciples, teaches them the Vedic knowledge with all its intricacies, and gives them their second birth. That's CC Adi 146 purport. So that's an even greater commitment. So it's very serious, and that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami. We'll bring this up later in how we select our mentors, lesson 7 in the seminar. Lord Chaitanya told Sanatana Goswami, you have to write a book. And this is right in CC Madhya Lila, chapter 24, 330, yes. Lord Chaitanya told Sanatana Goswami, you have to write a book. You have to tell many things. And one of the things you have to tell is how a prospective guru and a prospective disciple have to examine each other very, very carefully. For at least, that's all the verse says, but then Prabhupada unpacks it and starts talking about that mutual examination period and process. Okay, how is the guru different? That's the slide in front of you. Any questions about how is the guru different? Please restrict your questions to that topic. That slide. Okay, everybody understands how the guru is one now and how the guru is different, right? By role, by qualification, by commitment. Okay, now we're going to go to the final slide in the lesson today. Oh no, that is the final slide, because the final component of the lesson is something that I don't have a slide for, but it's a very important point that leads us right into the Founder Acharya lesson next time. That how do the Shiksha and Diksha gurus interact? Okay, so I'll first bring a reference from Srila Prabhupada. Okay, and this is from Adi Lila again, 135 purport. Quote, the expert spiritual master knows well how to engage his disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and thus he engages a devotee in a specific devotional service according to his special tendency. Once upon a time, a sannyasi, wrote Prabhupada complaining that another sannyasi was not sending money to the book fund. But the sannyasi who wasn't sending money to the book fund was building a whole rural community. And so Prabhupada wrote to the complaining sannyasi, look, he's not required to send money to the book fund. He's doing something else. Don't you think, Prabhupada wrote, don't you think, I'm paraphrasing now, but here's the gist, don't you think that the spiritual master knows how to engage his different disciples accordingly? So that's why Prabhupada writes here that he knows how to engage according to his special tendency. And now Prabhupada says, a devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master, because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructing spiritual masters one may accept. So one may wonder we may wonder when we hear Prabhupada say that. Okay, so all these instructors and then the initiator, wow, they better be on the same page. There's going to be some conflicts here. And in fact, there have been. And that's not good. So how does this work? Well, we learn how it works, how the relationship works, when we dig a little into our tradition. And a personality whose name we sing every time we sing Gora Arti, Narahari. Narahari Adi Kori. Srila Narahari Sarkar, he's fanning Lord Chaitanya in that song, written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Gora Arti. But Narahari Sarkar was also very capable of writing, and he wrote a wonderful book called Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita, where he discusses a lot of things that are very pertinent to us as Vaishnavas here in the 21st century. And one of the things he talks about is the relationship between the the initiator and the instructors. And he puts it like this. And he's writing with male metaphors, but because our founder Acharya, again, is not limited to the old Indian or even, Gaudiya mood and system, we can extend this and not only say father and uncles, we can say mother and aunties. So here's what Narahari Sarkar writes. Quote, a disciple may hear some instructions from another advanced Vaishnava, but after gaining that good instruction, he must bring it and present it to his own spiritual master, in other words, his own Diksha Guru. After presenting them, he should hear the same teachings gained from his spiritual master with appropriate instructions. So he's going to check it out. And again, this is in the traditional system where the person who was his prominent instructor beforehand became his initiator. That's traditionally the way it worked. And that's, perfectly understandable. And that's not, our history, but that's the way it traditionally worked. So you hear something from your well-wisher instructor, and then you want to just run it by your initiator, your father, your spiritual father. And then the analogy is made by Narahari Sarkar. He says, just as one respects one's father as a guru, so the father's older and younger brothers are also similarly respected. But nonetheless, the father is worthy of the most respect. Just as one depends upon one's father for one's livelihood, one must depend upon the strength of the spiritual master for advancing in devotional service. So that's from the that was patched from 3 different verses from the Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita, Srila Narahari Sarkar, verses 48, 52, and 53. Okay, so that is a natural segue, a transition into the super guru, the founder acharya, the super guru, if you will. That's my phrase. That's not, the traditional phrase. Because in this lesson, we looked at what a guru is. We defined guru. We looked at why we need a guru. We looked at how the guru is one, how they're different. We looked at just now, in a very simple way, how the Diksha and the Shiksha gurus relate. So the transition to the next lesson, before I open it up for questions, is that all guru-disciple relationships are based on the absolute shelter of their super guru, that's my word, or the founder acharya of their line, the master at whose feet all of the masters sit. So in the next lesson, we'll examine the identity and characteristics of a founder acharya, and especially our founder acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so that was the lesson, and it's about an hour. And Ramananda Prabhu, I'd like to open it up for general questions about the lesson, just about the lesson. Brief Guru review. Obviously, it wasn't an exhaustive treatment of Guru Tattva, but just looking again at the principle of Guru, leading up to founder acharya.
Well, I wanted to thank everybody who's in the audience because I only muted on free conferencing a very short amount of time. Otherwise, everybody's been pretty darn quiet. It's been open the whole time. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So nobody's muted right now.
Okay.
If you'd like to unmute yourself, if you have any questions or comments for Sureshwar Prabhu. Is that what we're doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just any general questions or comments about the subject matter?
About the Guru review, yeah. Wow. It's all clear?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, actually...
Go ahead.
I was busy getting my Sanskrit dictionary out, and I missed something very important that you said. You were telling us why we're bound to the material world, and I believe you said we're attached, like to sense gratification and to other living entities and that kind of thing. And then I think you said we're afraid, and then I think you said we're angry, but I missed what you said. If you could just briefly give me those answers again.
Okay, well, even better, after you hear me, you can go right to Gita 4:10 purport and read Prabhupada's very thorough treatment of the attachment, the fear, and the anger that keeps us bound to this world. And the essence of the way Prabhupada approaches anger in that purport is that we just become frustrated and angry about all kinds of speculation about what the truth is, all kinds of contradictory answers to our basic human questions about what life is about. Is there a God? What's going on here? And therefore, Prabhupada says, when we just become too furious and frustrated, we tend to just conclude that there is no answer. Everything is ultimately void. And Prabhupada says we retreat into some kind of intoxication. We just try to drown ourselves in intoxication. But read Prabhupada's purport, Gita 4:10. It's great.
Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome. Okay, we're setting the stage here, these first two lessons. Any other question about Guru review?
Prabhu, I don't know if my question is premature or not, but you had mentioned you were calling Prabhupada Super Guru. And you said that just after you were giving reference. By the way, I apologize for the fact I'm driving right now, so you may hear my kind of inside my car. You said that right after you were talking about the relationship between how the Shiksha Guru, or perhaps the Vidarsha Guru, the Shiksha Guru would generally become the Diksha Guru, and that better, if there are other Shiksha Gurus, it's very healthy if there are no conflicts. And then you talked about the Super Guru, and that's Prabhupada's position in our society as the founder Acharya. Are there historical examples, or is this paradigm kind of new in ISKCON, that Prabhupada's position is so special that we have this super guru that's kind of everybody's guru and everyone's sort of at his feet. Is this a new paradigm, or is this something that we see in the history of our sampradaya? I'll mute myself.
Yeah. No, it's completely. There's plenty of history. Yeah, there's founder acharyas all over the place, and we'll get into that. That's the next lesson. Srila Prabhupada, our founder acharya, and before we go into Prabhupada, how he exemplified founder acharya, we talk about founder acharya, where it comes from, historical examples, what their position is in their sampradaya. Yeah, it's completely historically precedented. So stay tuned.
Okay, I prefaced my question by saying that might be a premature question.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Okay.
I have a quick question. The modern sense of the term in English, guru, as being an expert, is the real term for guru more teacher? So anybody who's a teacher can be considered guru.
Say it again, Ramananda?
Anyone who is a teacher at all can be considered guru.
Yeah, popularly. I mean, they usually mean expert. When you hear it on the news or you read it, that's the way they use it. That's just a convenient word that they use. Somebody's a guru. That means he knows all about it, whatever it is, finance or romance or, sports, whatever it is. And Prabhupada would often, yes, guru means teacher. That's sure. But, all these words have connotations and they have associations in our mind. So, not an ordinary school teacher, obviously. So ultimately, guru literally in Sanskrit means one who's heavy with knowledge. That's the literal Sanskrit meaning. Prabhupada says heavy with knowledge.
So an ordinary teacher in school, you should not call guru.
Well, you can if you're using it in the popular sense. You just have to qualify it. Yeah. And sure, there's different. Well, we talked about how the guru is different. Sure, one kind of. We didn't exhaust all those possibilities. He's also different. You could say like Dronacharya was the Pandava's Varna guru. And the Kurus, all of them. Dronacharya taught both the Kurus and the Pandavas, all those kids. They grew up together. And he was their Varna guru. So that's another kind of guru. Teacher. So guru can be used, yeah, sure, as teacher. But in the ultimate sense that Prabhupada used it, from Shastra, when he said, Tad vijnanartam sugurumi babhigachet. Now you have to approach, now that you're in the human form of life, you must, if you're at all curious, serious about what life is all about. Abhigachet, that's an imperative in Sanskrit, abhigachet. And who is that person? First of all, samit pani, that literally means you have to bring him firewood. Samit pani. You have to serve him. And not just anyone, but Shrotriyam. He has to have assimilated all the Vedic knowledge, realized it, and Brahmanishtam, and he has to be living it. So, yeah, there's always different levels of all these words. But just, yeah.
It's interesting that, I don't know, maybe going through Bhagavatam class, and in one purport, Srila Prabhupada, I don't quite remember what he was referring to, but it was not, I believe, referring to a martial guru, and he said spiritual master, even though it was, clearly didn't have anything to do with spiritual life, but still referred to him as a spiritual master. And I've seen that a few times in Srila Prabhupada's purports, where he just says in general, when you say guru, even if it's something like a martial guru, he would put the English as spiritual master.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else about Guru Review? Hope it was clear. Ramananda is really helping. That suggestion Ramananda Prabhu had last week about stopping for questions with each slide was really helpful. So I'm trying to just, because inch by inch it's a cinch, slide by slide it's really good. Okay, anyone else? All right, I guess everybody, it's clear. And next week, again, please do your homework for your own sake. The homework from the first lesson. Try to capture in words your relationship with Srila Prabhupada, and watch how the seminar may influence your relationship over the course of the seminar. And because at the end we're going to be revisiting the question, and I hope people can share of how the seminar has influenced for the better, I hope, the relationship with our founder Acharya. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening. I forgot to even say, I'll say it now. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I want to thank Ramananda Prabhu for posting the first lesson on the website. I have some issues with the way it was posted, Ramananda. I don't mean to embarrass you, but that's why I need to keep you on the line so we can discuss how to improve how it's posted. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you very much, Prabhu. And we look forward to short Prabhu's part 3, excuse me, next week.
Part 3 is Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. And this is the signature lesson of the seminar where if I can only do one lesson to preview my seminar, this is the one I do. This is the one I do fully. So this is really getting into the juice now next week. Okay, Ramananda Prabhu, we can all offer obeisances and then we're going to stay on the line.
Okay. All right. Hare Krishna Prabhu. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Thanks to Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you, Suresh Ji. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.